3 MLS teams enter, but how many would leave? See how the NASL made a statement in the U.S. Open Cup. And the Richmond Kickers trying to keep pace with red-hot Orlando City. A recap of all the USL Pro action. And the wait is almost over. We take one last look at the U.S. men's national team before its World Cup opener against Ghana. Soccer Central starts now. Welcome into Soccer Central, the first episode of Soccer Central, the maiden voyage, if you will. Thank you very much for joining us. MLS is on World Cup break, but there's still plenty going on in the world of American soccer. There are still U.S. Open Cup games to play. We're into the fourth round of the tournament now, the round that MLS teams enter the competition in. And last night, we got one of the best matchups so far. The New York Red Bulls against the New York Cosmos in the revival of the Gotham Derby. Mike Petke and Cosmos coach Giovanni Savarese, MetroStar's teammates back in the day, two men that definitely understand the New York soccer culture. Petke actually called his team underdogs heading into the game, and the Cosmos did their best to make him look smart. 7th minute here, ball over the top from Mads Stokeland. He lets it drop and fires past Ryan Mara from a tough angle. The Cosmos take the early lead. 24th minute now, Cosmos with a free kick in a dangerous area, knocked back across the 6 and hammered off the crossbar and cleared. Cosmos miss a chance to double the lead, and there were plenty of those chances for the men in green, but it would head to halftime at just 1-0. Red Bulls assistant coach Robin Fraser not happy with the first half effort, but also not happy with the field.
Well, really, this isn't much of a soccer game, right? This is much more of a battle between the wind and the surface and the size of the field. It's really about field positioning.
And despite those concerns, it was still 1-0 late. You're starting to wonder if the Cosmos would regret not extending the lead, but in the 73rd minute, more bad defending, and Stokeland left wide open at the back post to volley home. That's another terrific goal from the Norwegian, and the Cosmos can breathe just a little bit easier. And just over 4 minutes later, it's a third goal for the men in green. The Cosmos coasting easily in the end to a 3-0 victory in the first game between two professional New York soccer teams in over 80 years. Cosmos move on to the 5th round of the Open Cup. A 1 victory for the NASL over MLS. Could the Atlanta Silverbacks follow suit against last year's Open Cup runner-up, Real Salt Lake? Didn't look promising for the underdogs early on. Robbie Finley pounces on the bad mistake by goalkeeper Derby Carrillo and slots home to make it 1-0 RSL, but Atlanta would respond. Nice little give and go here. Junior Burgos' shot skips over Jeff Attinella. We're level at 1. The Silverbacks would keep the pressure on, and late in stoppage time, it's Poku beating Attinella from the top of the box, and the Silverbacks get the dramatic late win, and it was no fluke. They actually outshot RSL 20-8. Only 3 games involving MLS teams last night, but the NASL 2 for 2 after New York and Atlanta. Could the Carolina Railhawks complete the sweep against Chivas USA? Railhawks riding a 21-game unbeaten streak at home across all competitions. Chivas has been struggling after that promising start to the season. Those struggles would continue early on. Nazmi Albadawi with a great ball, and Zach Szolowski and the Railhawks open the scoring in the 29th minute. Chivas, though, would respond later in the first half. Cross in here from Tony Lockhead, and Ryan Finley slipping between two Carolina defenders to head home, tied at 1, and it would stay tied at 1 all the way through extra time. We would head to penalties. In the shootout, we'll pick it up in the 3rd round. Dan Kennedy is going to make the save on Cupono low, and then Kennedy himself going to step up to take Chivas' 4th kick, but saved by Scott Goodwin and saves by Carolina's rookie keeper would quickly become a trend. Goodwin, who only got the start because of an injury to the Railhawks' first-choice keeper, is going to deny Eric Avila with another great kick save. That puts Enzo Martinez at the spot, a chance to win it for Carolina, but his shot goes wide. We head to sudden death. After Christopher Tierpak skies his attempt, Aaron King, another chance to win it for Carolina. Dan Kennedy coming up big again. This shootout heads to round 7. Marky Delgado for Chivas USA first, and Goodwin on another incredible kick save with the trailing leg. Would the shootout ever end? Daniel Jackson, another rookie, says yes. He puts it in, and Carolina moves on. While the NASL completes the sweep, going 3 for 3 against MLS teams last night. Chivas USA misses its last 5 penalties in the shootout, 3 of those saves by Scott Goodwin. 10 games left to play in the 4th round. Those will wrap up by Wednesday. Well, the USL Pro also had a full slate of games last night. League leaders Orlando City not in action, but second-place Richmond Kickers were, looking to make up a little bit of ground on the leaders. Richmond 10 points behind with a game in hand going into last night's game against Wilmington Hammerheads, but they could only make up a point in a 2-2 draw. LA Galaxy 2, Los Dos, get blown out by the Charleston Battery in the other notable game. With last night's results, we take a look about midway through the USL season, give or take a few games for some teams. Here is your table. Orlando City with a 9-point lead. Richmond now in second place on goal differential with a game in hand on LA. Arizona United SC and Harrisburg City Islanders also moving up a few spots in that playoff chase. A reminder that the top 8 teams make the playoffs. Well, the World Cup is finally underway, just not yet for the U.S. men's national team, but don't miss our final breakdown before the Nats' first game against Ghana. That's coming up after the break. Welcome back into Soccer Central. Joining me now, Sebastian Martinez, one of our soccer correspondents. We're going to talk a little bit U.S. National Team World Cup. Sebastian, you excited? First game tomorrow?
Absolutely, yeah. I'm really pumped. You know, there's been a lot of lead up. We've seen some of the other teams performing and how the groups have panned out so far. And yeah, Group G, group for Ghana or group for gonna win the whole thing? Yes.
Well, we'll hope so, but we also know that Group G can stand for Group of Death.
Right, right.
There's all the talk from the minute this draw came out. The U.S. has to beat Ghana in this first game to have any chance to get out of this group. If they lose tomorrow, is there any chance they can get out?
Yeah, I think it's totally up in the air at this point. I mean, we'll have to see the result of that Germany-Portugal game. You know, a lot of people were talking about England's chances and how if they lost against Italy, then their chances were done. But then we saw Costa Rica beat Uruguay. So, you know, it's a totally unpredictable tournament. And I don't think there's any finality to that. You know, again, it totally depends on the performances tomorrow. But I don't think that, you know, that kind of attitude's productive in any way. I think the U.S. will continue on believing whether they, you know, win, tie, or draw against Ghana.
We saw the first game in Manaus yesterday in the jungle, and interesting coming out of it. The Italy coach talking, and some of his players agreeing they want timeouts.
Yeah.
And they were really struggling with the heat. They were starting to cramp, things like that. The weather in Manaus today, 88 degrees, 62% humidity. Weather in D.C. today, Washington, D.C., 78 degrees, 52% humidity. Some of our guys have played in this stuff, you know, East Coast, kind of Midwest, you can get some humid, muggy stuff.
Right.
Do you think that any of them have any advantage in the heat against, you know, the Portuguese who maybe don't play in these conditions?
Yeah, you know, I think so. Even like beyond their club football, if you just look at the U.S.'s qualifying campaign, I mean, they played all over the country. They played in a bunch of different conditions, rain, sleet, and snow. I mean, they played Costa Rica in a blizzard. So yeah, I think they've got a bit of an advantage in experiencing that environmental diversity in qualifying. And you know, Portugal and Germany, you know, they've played in Portugal and Germany. You know, they're tiny countries. Well, Germany not so much, but still. Yeah, no. So I think that could come into play. And just, you know, the U.S. players growing up in the United States with that kind of environment and the humidity that you see in a lot of parts of the country. Yeah, I think that could come into play, definitely.
Now, going back to this Ghana game, which is so crucial, like we talked about, what's your preferred starting 11 and preferred formation of the way you want to see the U.S. play in a game that we think we both agree they really need to come out trying to win?
Right. Well, I mean, I think what we saw against Nigeria was a good start. You know, it's the formation's a little looser, but that starting 11 I thought was really productive. So, you know, you've got Beasley, Beasler, Cameron, and Johnson along the back four, and then in front of them you've got Beckerman and Jones. And those two playing there kind of free up Michael Bradley to have a more creative attacking role, which we've really seen, you know, pay dividends. And then Dempsey will ostensibly start on the left wing, but he likes to roam around, you know, and be adventurous. And I think the U.S. will profit from that. And then Bedoya down the right with Altidore up front. I think that could be good. It's going to be a very open game, you know, two teams that aren't as disciplined defensively as they're talented going forward. So I think, you know, it's going to be about outscoring the other team and not out-defending them, really.
Last thing we got to talk about, your prediction tomorrow. What happens? Who scores?
Oh, man. This is the thing that I've thought about the least just because of the unpredictability of the Cup. I'll be optimistic and say 2-1 to the United States. It'll probably be more high-scoring than that, but, you know, it's a common score line, so it's a conservative guess. But, yeah, I think I'm going to go with that. And then Josie scoring both.
All right. Josie scoring both. Bold prediction from Sebastian. Thank you very much for joining us, Sebastian.
Yeah,
we will have a breakdown of the U.S. after they play Ghana tomorrow. Check back in for that next week.